one person that I wouldn't mind fighting because he's called me out in the past when I've been on injury is Jack Hermansson. So
Good fight.
maybe our paths cross somewhere in the future.
What up, Maniacs? Shakiel Mahjouri here, and you know who this is. He's a top 15th ranked middleweight fighter, legitimate badass, and if you were afraid of his hands, he's got a new hunting bow, so you better be ready. Brad Tavares, how's it going?
That's awesome. Actually, I'm on my way in about 2 hours to go pick it up. I went down like a week or so ago to get it fitted and all of that ordered, and then they had to put everything. They did some custom things to it, so I actually pick it up today. So
This is
something
legit.
new. I'm trying to get into. Just picking up other hobbies.
Very cool. Well, hey, it's been a not a great year, but a great year to find some new things to fulfill you. From a scale, I know you're saying you're kind of new to this whole thing. From a scale of 1 to 10, how would you grade your skills with a compound bow? Excuse me, right now.
Oh, I have zero skills, so to speak. So my own bowl, we'll get excited, and we'll see how it goes from there.
Okay. Hey, well, nowhere to go but up, right?
Yeah.
You are fighting Omari Akhmedov at UFC 264 Saturday, July 10th. Huge
Yes, sir.
card. And I'd be remiss if I didn't ask. You've been in a lot of big positions in your career, but I'm sure you'll feel it as we get closer and closer to fight week. But how does it feel, at least thus far, being on a Conor McGregor card? Because if nothing else, it's a totally different atmosphere when a Conor fight comes to town.
What's funny is I fought on the last card that the two of them fought,
Yeah.
Connor and Dustin, too, in Abu Dhabi. So it's nothing new to me. I don't feel like it's any different. Again, it'll be fun to be back in front of a sold out crowd right here at home in Las Vegas. But as far as like all the other stuff, it being a big card, this and that, like honestly, I don't really even think about that stuff. It's a fight. I got a dangerous guy in front of me, and it's plenty enough to worry about right there.
Although I have to imagine that crowd in Vegas, the first Vegas fight back in ages, if you like fighting in front of a crowd, it's going to be pretty nuts.
Well, what is cool for me, or yeah, I guess cool you could say, is that through the whole COVID pandemic, the no fans, I've never experienced that. When we were in Abu Dhabi, we were at a limited
Small crowd, yeah.
capacity. There were some fans, um, and then here I am, my next fight back in front of a sold out crowd. So it's gonna be fun.
Love it. Almost as if it didn't happen. So I'm
Okay,
glad
cool.
we can move past it there. Let's talk about the fight a bit. You were taking on Akhmedov, another ranked guy in your last fight. Nice comeback win against Antonio Carlos Jr.
Yeah,
Different
for sure.
guys, but both with a heavy grappling base. Can you point out some of the similarities and differences between those two guys?
I think that for them, for both guys, plan would be obviously Carlos Jr. It was very obvious that was his game plan. I got to take this guy down. As far as Akhmedov, I think he brings a little bit better wrestling to the table, but maybe not as skilled or decorated the grappler that Carlos Jr. was. But that being said, that I believe that he's a better wrestler. So I was able to thwart off pretty much all of Shoeface's attacks, wrestling attacks, takedown attempts, and I think that I'm in for a little bit more of the same, but with a little bit better caliber wrestler.
Now, as we start to move past the fight stuff and get to some of the stuff that really interests me, there was a long layoff between the Antonio Carlos fight because you did have a knee injury. And I was
Yep.
looking through your record, and while it's not the first time that you bounced back from a loss, that was the longest time in your career between wins, about 33 months. Now, looking back on it, in what ways do you think the time off and just going through the experience of having to sit on those losses for a while, how did that benefit you in the long term?
You know what? I'm one of those guys that I try to stay pretty positive, pretty optimistic. I don't see the sense in dwelling on the negative for too long. You have to soak it up. A loss is a loss, and you have to learn and grow from that. But that being said, it's not something that you can just let eat away at you, because what good is that gonna do? So it's like every time I approach a fight, it's like a fresh slate all over again. I remember early on in my career, I was riding like a 5-6 fight win streak, something like that. Before I had fought, I think Yo Romero, and I remember like in every interview I did, they brought up, oh, the streak. And to me, I'm like, that's something I didn't even think about. But because that became a thing, I think mentally in there, I was like, oh, well, yeah, it is a thing. And then it gives you like, I don't know, it makes you like lose focus a little bit. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, your job is to go out there, perform, fight, and win. Like, you shouldn't expect anything less. So regardless if you're on a 1, 2, 10 fight win streak, you know, like that, to me, shouldn't play a factor. Same as the losses. Obviously, when you're coming off of losses over such a long time, you know, it's back there somewhere, but definitely not a main focus. And it's kind of just how it happened. Prior to fighting Izzy, I was on another, I think, 4 fight win streak or something. Went into that fight with some injuries and ended up breaking my arm in the fight. So that put me out a while. Came back to fight Shabazian, ended up losing, and then tore my ACL after that. So it put me out. So it's one of those things, you know, it's like these things happen in life. So you got to roll with the punches, stay positive. It's about all you can do.
Hey, and that's a terrific standard to set. I know you got your daughter in the car, so a good role model in front of her. You know, it's funny you mentioned that. I had another interview recently where someone was coming off of a long layoff, and they mentioned how, you know what, I hadn't even been thinking about it until all the media started asking about it. So I apologize on behalf of my media brethren. It's it's the game.
Hey, I understand that it's your guys' jobs. You know, you guys come up with storylines and you guys look at these things in a different aspect than we as fighters do. Yeah. And it's our jobs as fighters to just stick to the goal, you know, and stay on path.
Well, you know, funny, I've actually come to realize this more recently, and this is a good note for the viewers too. You know, you guys do these interviews like back to back to back to back. So it's like you get asked a lot of the same questions, but the answers haven't actually made it out public yet. And I think that's why sometimes you see fighters get so many repeats. But anyways, here I'm just brainstorming. I was going through your Instagram watching the training at Extreme Couture, correct?
Yep, correct.
What is it like being in the gym with a giant behemoth of a human being like Francis Ngannou? Do the mats shake when he steps on there?
I don't know. Francis, that's my little brother. You got to ask him what it's like being with a behemoth like myself, you know, little small guy like that, you know, and, it's fun though. I love Francis. He's definitely become one of the brothers. I remember when he first came over to the States, before he was even in Extreme Couture, I used to see him at the UFC PI, and me, like, I'm a really like playful guy. Like, I'll talk a lot of crap and like, you know, like razz people, whatever. And I just remember like Francis at the time, you know, he had just come over, didn't really know me, didn't really speak too much English at the time. And here I am just kind of talking crap to him. And he would just kind of look at me, and 1, he probably didn't really understand what I was saying. And 2, like, didn't know me. Like, he just kind of looked at me like he was going to eat me. But then, you know, over time, he got to know me, the personality, and we kind of have that playful relationship. But it's awesome, you know, being able to just train with a guy like that. You know, like, he's a spectacle. You look at him, 6'5" of pure muscle and athleticism. But past the physical and the athletic attributes, you know, he's a great guy, a great human being.
What kind of gamer are you?
Like what platform am I on, or like what do I like
games?
To play?
Yeah.
So I'm on PC. I'm a PC controller guy, and the only game I'm playing right now is Warzone.
What is it with UFC fighters in Warzone? I feel like you guys need to start a league.
Hey, I've been on Call of Duty for years, literally since the second Call of Duty. I think I played it first on, was it Xbox 360 or PlayStation 2? I can't remember. PlayStation 2 probably, because that was probably before I switched over to Xbox. But yeah, I've been playing this game, for this Call of Duty franchise for years now. That had to have been back in like, shucks, 06 maybe, 07.
What if I were to ask the people in your house, the people around you, what kind of Call of Duty gamer are you? Are you cool, calm, and collected? Are you talking trash? Are you screaming? Because I'm a bit of a screamer, unfortunately.
I think in situationally it would depend. You know, like I definitely like I'm not one of those guys that is like yelling and screaming. Like I've played with a few of those guys and it's a little much. You're like, oh, I don't know if I can keep playing with this guy. I have my moments where I'm like, you know, you gotta yell the call outs. It's high intensity. Yeah. I would say like of the guys I usually play with, I play like kind of the leader role. Like, hey, let's do this. Come up with the game plan, sort of a thing. You do this, you do that type of deal. But yeah, that's probably outside of like training. That's probably and like spending time with my family. That's probably what I spend the most time doing.
There's those surround sound headsets. I can never tell how loud I'm being when I'm trying to call out things.
No, so it's funny. I used to be on console. I was on my Xbox, and I would play right in the living room or in the. I have an Xbox in every room. So I'll play wherever, and then my girl will be like, "Babe, you're screaming, you're yelling." I'm like, "Oh, sorry." And I don't even think I'm yelling, but like you said, because of the headset, you don't know. You're so immersed in the game. It feels like war, you know, like you got to yell so that they can hear you over the gunshots and the bombs going off.
That's exactly it. Okay, last thing for you, Brad, before I let you go. I'm going to try to pull the headline out of you. I know fighters always say they're just looking at the task in front of them, but you beat Omari Akhmedov. Who are you calling out, or who would you like to fight next?
Honestly, yeah, I didn't really look that far, and it's a fact. Like we as fighters, we try not to look past the guy in front of us. You know, it's I feel like it's kind of disrespectful, in a way, like to look past an opponent you have in front of you. Obviously, I feel confident going into any and every fight that I'm gonna come out victorious, as I do with this one. Yeah, you know, I honestly haven't really thought about it. One person that I wouldn't mind fighting because he's called me out in the past when I've been on injury, is Jack Hermansson. So you know, maybe our paths cross somewhere in the future.
Okay, good fight. Brad, is there anything you would like to share with the people, business, life, anything before I let you go here?
Nah, I just want to say thank you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate the time. And yeah, everybody tune into the fight. It's gonna be fun.
Boom. Guys, thank you so much for checking this out. Hit the subscribe button. Brad Tavares, you fight Akhmedov at UFC 264 on Saturday, July 10th. Wishing you the best of luck, and hopefully I'll catch you on the post-fight.
Thanks, brother. Aloha.